Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I wanted to do a quick video about one of the really cool new features in Helix and HX Stomp firmware 2.8 update. One that kind of hasn't been talked about, or not that I've heard anyways. And it really is the answer to one of the most popular questions I get. And that is the ability now to be able to share presets between HX Stomp and Helix back and forth, okay? With a little asterisk beside it, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. One of the most common questions that I get after I put a preset out, maybe with a dialing in video, and I put something up on custom tone that I dialed in for the Helix, is, will this work on HX Stomp, right? And in the past, the answer was simply, well, I have to actually, drag the blocks over, or copy and paste them and recreate it, save it as an HX Stomp preset, and then upload it as an HX Stomp preset, and then yes, it works. If it was within the limitations of what the HX Stomp is capable of, 6 blocks and less DSP under the engine. So we now have the ability to move presets back and forth, like I said, with a little asterisk beside it. So let's go over to HX Edit, and actually in this case, HX Edits, because I'm gonna have 2 of them up. So we'll see on the screen here. Sorry for the fact that they're kind of squished in a little bit here. Kind of have to fit them both on the screen. So as we can see up here, I have HX Edit open for HX Stomp, and I have HX Edit open for Helix Floor. So let's start off with the ability to transfer from HX Stomp over to HX Floor. Well, this is very simple. We just drag and drop it over, and pretty much every preset that I can think of is going to work, because Helix Floor is capable of doing all the things that HX Stomp is and more. So, I could go into, let's say, the factory presets, and hey, what the heck, I'll use the ones that of mine that are included. So any of the ones with JS, as a lot of folks know, are the ones that I felt very honored that Line 6 asked me to contribute that ship with all the HX Stomps. So let's take my, it's called DIR EJ Dover. This is one preset that I used with one of my Eric Johnson videos when I was covering Cliffs of Dover. So if I have, let's go down here to Helix Floor, and I just pick a new preset. It's as simple as dragging and dropping that over there, and as you see, it says down here importing presets, and there you go. There is the preset just as it showed up in HX Stomp, with all the parameters right where they should be and everything we need. So that was very simple, and it's going to be that simple as well. All your snapshot data will come over, and everything should work just as it should. Now let's talk about going the opposite way. Let's talk about going from Helix Floor over to HX Stomp. Now, the first thing we have to understand are the limitations. Obviously, we have less DSP under the hood in the HX Stomp. So it could be that our preset just has too much DSP usage, and we're gonna get an error message. And I'll show you these error messages in a moment. It could be that maybe we're using too many split blocks, right? We know that in the Helix Floor, we can use a split block up on, a split and a merge block up on path 1, and on path 2, we can use another one. We're only capable of one of those in HX Stomp. So, if we had a preset that maybe had, few enough blocks, but it had too many split blocks, well, maybe that's not going to transfer over. And obviously, the 6 block limitation is the big one, right? If we have something in our, let's see here. If we have something in our Helix Floor, such as this preset, 2 split blocks, numerous amps, way too many blocks. If I take this and try to drag this, let's say over to, where's something blank here. Did I have something blank? There's a new preset. Okay, so if I take this and try to drag it over, look at the error message. It says HX Edit was unable to import presets in this set due to the following errors. Preset translation not supported, too many parallel DSP paths. So as I was mentioning, we have 2 parallel paths. I mean, among other problems, there's also too many blocks here, right? What happens with something like this though? Let's go to this Fullerton Bright preset that I recently did that's up on Custom Tone. We look at it and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. It works for the block limitation of the HX Stomp. It works for the fact that there's not too many split blocks or merge blocks. And the interesting thing though is that I'm using 2 paths for no other reason than I just used my template and I threw the amp and cab up on the top path. Well, some folks might think, well, that's not going to work because we only have 1 path on the HX Stomp. But let's see what happens when we do this. I simply drag it over. It says, you want to overwrite the current preset? Yes, I do. It imports the presets down here. And look what happens. The fine folks at line 6 are smart enough and kind enough to have HX Stomp realize that these were on separate paths and amalgamate them together onto one. So I end up with just such a thing, right? Which works out wonderfully. Now, that's great news as far as I'm concerned. So that worked just beautifully. Here's a Helix Floor preset that's within the parameter confines of HX Stomp, and I can just drag it over and it works. So as long as we only have 1 split path and under 6 blocks, and we're not going to surpass the DSP capability of the HX Stomp, we're in good shape. We're going to be able to just drag those over. And you know what's interesting is you can go to Custom Tone, you can download a Helix Floor or Helix Rack preset and just try it. It takes seconds. HX Stomp, HX Edit for HX Stomp is going to tell you whether it's compatible instantaneously, and then you have your answer. No, can't use this one. Might be frustrating at the time, but at least we have a quick way of knowing it without having to wonder or ask and wait for a response. Sometimes I can't get back when somebody asks me, is this available for HX Stomp? I just don't have the time to answer right away. I try to answer, when I can, but you can also now just try it yourself. Now there is another question. What if I took this same preset, but I created, let's say, 6 snapshots? Well, we know that the limitation, another limitation in the HX Stomp is that we can only do 3 snapshots. So let's do this. Let's come over here and we'll snapshot enable just 1 parameter. And for snapshot 1, that'll be set to 4. And let's just move it up in increments of 1 for our drive bright all the way up through, I don't know, 5 snapshots, 6 snapshots, whatever. Doesn't really matter. We don't have to do all 8. But so here we have this. I'll save this now with this snapshot data, right? Now if I take this and, did I save that all right? Yes, there we go. And drag this preset over. Let's see what happens with the snapshot data. Yes, I want to overwrite it. It's importing the preset that quick. Well, we see that the snapshot data is enabled. So snapshot 1, when I go to snapshot 2, this should move up, the drive bright should move up to 5, as it does. Snapshot 3 moves up to 6, and obviously I'm done. It's only going to take the first 3 snapshots of the Helix preset. What's really nice about that though is, it could have been done another way where it's like, too many snapshots, we're just not letting you import it, but it doesn't. It gives us the first 3, which is kind of nice, right? Gives us lots of flexibility here in sharing presets now. So really the only thing that's going to stop us from being able to share a Helix Floor preset over to an HX Stomp preset would be, too much DSP usage, obviously more than 6 blocks, if it's going to use too many split and merge paths, right? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I haven't thought it through enough. Maybe there are other reasons, but those are the ones that I've come up with. And other than that, it seems like it's a very well-implemented feature that is, I think, quite useful, right? It opens the doors now for a lot of HX Stomp users to go to Custom Tone and to just, hey, take the 1 second it takes to download a preset you might be interested in, try importing it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's obviously not going to, be for the HX Stomp. But if it does, we've now opened the door to the possibility of having a lot more HX Stomp presets. And I'm probably in my Helix presets now going to be thinking when I'm putting them up on Custom Tone more along the lines of, if extra blocks aren't needed, maybe I'll, put an amp and cab block together now. Maybe I'll try to, condense it so that HX Stomp users can also grab it and I won't have to go recreate a whole other HX Stomp version. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So obviously I was dragging and dropping, but we could also do it using the import and export functions, right? So if I was, say, down here on my Eric Johnson preset, I could export this preset. Apparently I already have it in there. I can come over to HX Stomp and I could say, find where I exported to, there it is, import that, and the same thing is going to happen. It's going to import fine. So we can drag and drop. We could use the import export feature, whatever we find the easiest. So I hope I covered everything there. I didn't forget anything. If there's any questions, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back and answer those. I just thought that was an important feature to talk about, as it's a question I get a lot. And I also had a request recently to do a video just kind of discussing how that can be done. And it seems to be something that maybe a lot of folks maybe have forgotten about as a feature in 2.8, and something that I think a lot of folks would probably find quite useful to use. So I hope that was a helpful video, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in and sticking with me through that. I'm going to be back soon with some more content, some dialing in stuff. I got a fun one I'm going to start working on right now. More news on that later. I also have some new marketplace presets coming up extremely soon, and there'll be more news on that later. So again, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Like the video, share it if you don't mind. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will be back soon. Thanks again. Ciao for now.